Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to be looking at McFarlane DC Multiverse Superman of Earth -3. This is Ultraman from the Crime Syndicate. This guy's a Target exclusive, at least in the US, and he's the first of 4 figures to collect to build a Starro the Conqueror. I'm really excited for Starro. He looks fantastic so far. My only complaint is he's not nearly as large as I wish he would be. Ultraman is essentially an evil Superman. The Crime Syndicate is the evil Justice League from this alternate multiverse. Who would have thought McFarlane making an evil version of a DC superhero? So let's go and check out the packaging. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys, ages 12 plus, DC Multiverse Superman of Earth -3, collect to build Starro the Conqueror, the first figure. Really excited to get that guy. One side of the package, Superman of Earth -3, part of the Crime Syndicate. Other side simply says Superman of Earth -3. It doesn't say Ultraman anywhere on this thing. Here he is in the package. No character-specific traditional accessories for him, but he does have the middle part of Starro the Conqueror. He's got a little attachment for Starro to control somebody, and he also has a display stand and a collector's card. The bottom got a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode in case that helps anybody. And to the back side, here's Ultraman and Starro. You can see 4 different figures, but they're not showing you who they are yet. Instructions how to build Starro. Here's Starro completed. Here is the rest of the wave. So with no further ado, let's open him up. Alright, now that we have this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He does come with a collector's card, a display stand, and then one piece of the collector-built Starro figure, and then one of the Starro sort of parasite accessories. He doesn't come with any traditional character-specific accessories for himself, and that's okay. I'm really pleased with this Starro. But before we take a look at all that, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Ultraman. On the package, they refer to him as Superman from Earth -3, and that may be accurate. He is that multiverse's version of Superman, but he's on the evil Justice League, the Crime Syndicate. So let's take a look. His head kind of looks a little soft. It's hard to explain. I don't know if it's the eyes. They're all red, which is kind of appropriate because it's evil, but I personally would prefer some normal eyes. Looks like he's about to use his heat vision. Hair kind of flowing in the wind, a little wavy, sticking up. Head sculpt was not bad. Just the eyes bother me a little bit. It's a cool effect, but would have been nice for an alternate head, not for his main head. Cape, long, flowing, looks pretty good. Looks similar to some we've got before. Very movable. One thing I don't like is how it sort of connects into here. You got the Ultraman logo on his chest, done in the Superman style. Looks pretty good. I'll tell you, they redesigned the torso articulation. You get a ton more use out of this. I've seen people that customize their figures, sort of shave out some stuff inside. You won't need to on this guy. He goes way back. They've really stepped up their game with that articulation there. Double jointed elbows, double jointed knees, boots specifically done for Ultraman. Overall, I'm liking this figure. He only comes with fists. Wouldn't be surprised if you might be able to use some other Superman hands for this guy. This is going to be the first of 4 members of the Crime Syndicate. I'm guessing the other ones are going to be Owlman, Superwoman, and the Crime Syndicate version of the Flash. And here's a closer look at his head or face sculpt. Now let's take a look at his accessories, and let's start off with the boring stuff. Here's his display stand. Typical McFarlane stand, black perfect circle, says DC at the bottom. It's got one peg for the peg holes on his feet. Very thin, very basic. Here's his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of Ultraman taking on Starro the Conqueror. I don't think the Starro figure is going to be nearly this big compared to Ultraman, although I wish it would be. Superman of Earth -3 for the Crime Syndicate. On the back side, there is a description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. Here's the piece of Starro. It's just the front of the torso, but it looks absolutely fantastic. It's got one giant eye in the middle, couple eyes on the sides. The sculpt and paint job is absolutely fantastic. This thing looks excellent. It's only the front side of the torso. You can see where it's going to connect to the back. It's also going to have a bunch of starfish fins coming out on all sides. Unfortunately, it's quite a bit smaller than I'd like. I would love to have a giant version of Starro as well. In addition to that, it comes with one of Starro's parasites. It's pretty much a small version of Starro. It's got 3 eyes. It's got these tentacles that are going to wrap around your figure. They're rubbery, going to be easy to put around him. Got the sort of mouth here. This is how Starro mind controls his opponents. Launches a bunch of these little parasites. They attach to the different characters, and then they're under his control. Really hoping that all 4 of the Crime Syndicate figures come with one of these, so you can have several of them. It'd be really cool if McFarlane would just make a large bundle so you can get a ton of them. But McFarlane would never make it that easy. Here's Ultraman with the Starro parasite wrapped around his chest. Personally, I'm more familiar with the Starro parasites that attach to their face, but this is still really cool. Detail is fantastic on this thing, and it should be able to wrap around any of your McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Like I said, really hope we end up with 4 of these if we get the entire wave. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing at about 7.3 inches tall, which you can translate to about 18.5 centimeters. Now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, he can rotate from side to side. He can look up about that far, down about that far. That should be very helpful for flight poses. Can't tilt his head from one side to the other. Give him a good amount of personality. Shoulders on a ball joint, goes out more than 90 degrees, up, down, around, all that good stuff. He's got a butterfly joint between his shoulder and chest area, increasing the range of motion. Bicep cut below that, but you don't get too much range of motion out of that. Double jointed elbows, they go all the way in. His wrist has a ball in it, and they painted it the same color as his shirt, which it shouldn't be. That should be flesh colored. You can see where the sleeve ends here, and then it's blue beyond that. You can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. His torso, very impressive. Ball joint here and in his waist. Goes back so far. Very nicely done. Going to get you some really cool flight poses. Rotate, up, down, around. Bottom one, rotate around, forward and back, giving him a very impressive range of motion in his torso area. The most of any McFarlane DC figure yet. Legs go about this far. Not a ball joint, but a similar type concept. Rotation, minimal, but it's there. Legs go forward about that far. Back, not too much. Double jointed knees. Then his ankle has a ball in it. Forward and back. Can rotate. Tilt, rock. Looks a little different than what's come before. Not the same kind of ball joint. A lot thinner. Doesn't look nearly as bad as some of the other ones. And he also has toe articulation. Here's Ultraman, hovering above the skies of his multiverse's version of Metropolis. Then, getting angry, about to use his heat vision and melt some people. Here's Ultraman in a flight pose, flying above the skies of Metropolis. This figure can achieve a fantastic flight pose. Now let's check him out, next to some other action figures, starting off with some of the McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the R Batman. I got both these figures at Target 2 days ago. These are both Target exclusives. Ultraman is the first of 4 figures that are going to make up the Crime Syndicate. Here's Ultraman, next to the Action Comics number 1000 version of Superman. Then, next to the Superman the Animated Series version of Superman. And here, next to the Rebirth version of Superman. These are probably the best 2 figures to pair off against each other. Then, next to the Batman the Dark Knight Returns Superman. Here's Ultraman, next to all the different Superman figures McFarlane has made so far. And I can't think of another Superman figure that has been announced or shown. I personally don't consider Ultraman a Superman figure, although I do believe it's Clark Kent as his real identity. But at least in my opinion, Ultraman is a different character. Here's Ultraman taking his place alongside some of the other Superman rogues McFarlane has made so far. We've got Lex Luthor, General Zod, Ultraman, Superboy Prime, and Bizarro. And one can make an argument that Lobo and Devastator are also Superman rogues. Now let's check them out, next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to a couple of Lex Luthor figures. Then, next to a couple of Lobo figures. And here, next to Superboy Prime and the Birds of Prey Harley Quinn. Then, next to the Speed Force Flash from Zack Snyder's Justice League, and Reverse Flash from DC's Rebirth Comics. And here, next to a couple of Mortal Kombat 11 Joker figures. Then, next to the Batman Beyond Unmasked Batwoman and the Atomic Edition of Blight. And now, next to a couple of General Zod figures. And here, with the Future State Batman and Dark Detective. Then, next to the Rebirth Batman and Infinite Frontier Robin. Here's Ultraman, next to the Dark Knight Returns Superman vs. Armored Batman 2-pack. Then, with the Lois and Clark Batman and the Rebirth Martian Manhunter. And here he is, next to the Death of the Family Joker and the Justice League Endless Winter Aquaman. Here's Ultraman, next to the Batman 3 Joker's Wave. Then, next to the Gotham Knights figures, still trying to track down the unpainted Batgirl and the red version of Nightwing. And here he is, next to McFarlane's The Batman Collection. Then, next to McFarlane's Batman The Dark Knight Returns Collective Build-A-Horse Wave. And here, with the Justice League Endless Winter Collective Build-A-Frost King Wave. And finally, next to the most recent Mega figures McFarlane has done, Clayface and Titan Joker. Now I would like to check them out next to some other Ultraman figures, but I don't have any. My collection is predominantly Batman related, so the only other Crime Syndicate figures that I have are Owlman. Here are 3 versions of Owlman. From left to right, we have the DC Direct Silver Age Owlman, then the Mattel DC Universe Classics Owlman, and on the far right, the DC Collectibles DC Supervillains Owlman. Now let's check him out next to some action figures from different various companies to see how he fits in both scale and style wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane figure, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect and work way smaller, and I'm going to include as many Superman figures as I can during these comparisons. Since we already checked him out next to a ton of McFarlane Superman figures, here he is with some other McFarlane figures. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, next is more McFarlane toys. These are from different various video game properties. And now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles Superman figures. And here, with some NECA figures. Then, with some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 collective figures. Then, with some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse Superman figures. And here, with some Mafex figures. Then, next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. Overall, this is a pretty nice figure. My issues with him are going to be the head. The red eyes are cool, but not for a main head. And then his torso. Although they greatly improve the articulation, it visually looks a little bit off. This guy's articulation overall is very much improved. The torso, they've completely outdone themselves. If they could just tweak the way it looks, it'll be perfect. And then his ankles. They got rid of those large ball joints and have really streamlined the figure. Sculpt and paint job are excellent, no issues there. His accessories, although nothing for the actual Ultraman figure, the Starro stuff is really cool. If I were to rate this figure, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. Ultraman is just not a figure I felt like I needed in my collection, although as McFarlane releases the other Crime Syndicate figures, I'm sure I'll feel differently. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.